one other thing we should do before we go any further is test what we've done already. So we don't need to dump out the response of this fire data, but we can start checking some of this. So let's write console.log about to look through our fire data. Now let's see if we can get a fire data features length fire incidents. Okay, so that'll tell us how many, and then down here what we can do is log closest fire is now, let's say my distance miles from us. Okay, and actually some of these other things we're not necessarily going to need, right? But we'll just leave them in there for now. Let's save it, and now we're going to need to make changes. So let's say initially get or find closest fire. We'll add that, we'll stage it, and let's commit it. And then what we can do is deploy the skill. Okay, succeeded. We've got our log ready to go. Alexa, open fire test.
Welcome to fire test. I have no idea where the nearest fire is.
Okay, let's refresh this. This is our latest one. More. Okay, this doesn't look right. Let's see if there's another one. Okay, here we go. Got the fire data. About to look through our fire data, have 371 fire incidents. And then you could see we kept going through, narrowing it down, and then we finally found our closest fire, which was 7.9 miles from my current location. Now, some of these fires, remember I spent a little bit of time looking at the fire behavior general property. So some of these may be small fires. That may be something else worth looking into if you want to filter some of these out. But yeah, this looked like it showed up as a valid fire that wasn't 100% contained. Okay, so now we can jump back through here and let's start building our response. So let's start somewhat in the same way. So if closest fire is not equal to -1, so we found a closest fire, what are some of the things that we're going to want to say? So we're probably going to want to say, mention if it's the acres burned. We're going to want to say the distance and the percent contained, and then probably the name. Okay, so actually up here we had captured some of this and we didn't actually need it. So let's just paste it from there into here. So we're going to get the acres, we're going to get the percent contained. And we're going to need to get the distance, so we'll grab, actually we have the distance already, and that is in closest distance, right? So we have acres, we have distance, and we have percent contained. The only other thing we need to get is the name. Let's see, what is the name? So the name, let's say name, properties, it was called incident name. But now instead of I, we're going to be using closest fire. So we're going to get the data for that particular fire incident. Now all we have to do is build our response. So what do we want the response to sound like? So speak output equals closest fire to you is the, so we'll want to maybe do the name. So the something fire, it is, let's see the distance. So that was closest dist miles from you. And let's actually put these on new lines. So it is so many miles from you, and it is, let's look at the percent contained. Percent contained and has burned. So it is so many miles from you. Is so much percent contained and has burned acres. Okay. And this will actually just say our response. If we don't have one, let's let people know as well. There are no uncontained fires. I'd be a little bit surprised if that's ever the case in the entire nation, but you never know. And that should be it. Just the other thing we should probably do is let's log this. Just to speak output, see what we're gonna get. Okay, let's save that and build speech output. Let's commit it and deploy. Okay, our skill is built. Let's give it a shot. Alexa, open fire test.
Sorry, I had trouble doing what you asked. Please try again.
Okay, ran into a problem. Let's try and find out what happened. Okay, so right here, we looped through everything, and then we had an error assigning to a constant variable. Let's go back through to our code. Okay. So it would be great if we could find out exactly which line this came from. Well, we can do this. And then let's add break each one of these up like this. There we go. And then we can, I mean, the sloppy way to do it is you can get crazy. Oh, actually, it looks like it's right here. That variable name was wrong. But one thing you could always do is do something like this. I'll put a 1. Oops. Right? Now output a 2. And then a 3. And then 4. Right? So you can see, you'll be able to see in the log how far you got. Let's go ahead and save that. And let's say fix speak output variable and add debug messages. Let's commit all of those changes. And let's deploy the skill. Okay, our build has succeeded. Alexa, open fire test.
Sorry, I had trouble doing what you asked. Please try again.
Okay. Let's try and find out how far it got. Nothing. That is interesting. Okay, so one thing you can do to help you get an idea is you go back to your developer console, right? And you can go to the code section. So let me go back into there. And you can scroll down and see a bunch of different errors that they've found. So you can go through and try to fix those. But I'm more concerned right now with why it was crashing when we changed this stuff. So I noticed if I hover over this X, speak output is a constant. So if I go back to my IDE here and I go up to the top, yeah, speak output, we declared it as a constant. So if we switch this to a variable, we should be able to do that now. So let's save. Let's say change speech to variable. Let's commit this. You can see why tracking your changes can be useful. You can see every little step to go testing it. We'll deploy and build. Okay, Alexa, open fire test.
The closest fire to you is the timeless fire. It is 7.908114903234168 miles from you, is 0% contained and has burned 0 acres.
Okay, so let's look at some of this stuff because we may want to tweak it. So we found the closest fire, 7.9.081149, etc. miles from us. We went through our 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we built our speech output. The closest fire is the timeless fire. It is, you know, this big number of miles from you, is 0% contained and has burned 0 acres. So null just means 0. So we should probably fix some of these, right? We should convert these nulls to 0. Another thing is if it's burned 0 acres, maybe we don't want to include it. And then this miles, we should probably round this to the nearest mile. So we can come here and use math.round. So math.round for percent contained and acres, so we'll say if acres equals null, let's say acres equals 0. And then we'll do the same thing for percent contained. If percent contained equals null, percent contained equals 0. Now let's just keep these in here for a little bit since we're messing around with some of these values. And we'll save. And let's say clean up, put, stage it, and commit it. And then we'll go back and deploy. Okay. Alexa, open fire test.
The closest fire to you is the timeless fire. It is 8 miles from you, is 0% contained, and has burned 0 acres.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. Let's double check our output. We went through, we narrowed it down to the closest, went through our count, and we fixed this. The timeless fire, 8 miles, 0% contained, has burned 0 acres. Looks good. Now, what do we have left? So we can clean up some of this output, right? We don't need to do this anymore. We probably don't want to, depends on you if you want to log stuff or not. For the moment, I'll just leave everything else here the way it is. In fact, I'll just leave those as well. Our next step is going through the actual release. So go back here. So our, it's under distribution. So you got to give it your name. You got to give it a short description, a detailed description. If you remember when you looked on your phone, this stuff would show up there. So we'll say, let you know where the nearest uncontained, the nearest wildfire is. We'll look up fire data and tell you where the nearest uncontained wildfire is your zip code. Nothing's new. Just leave that. Okay, so let's say Alexa, open fire test. And then what were some of our other phrases? This is where you gotta match what you said, otherwise you'll fail the certification. So let's go through, let's go back to build. Let's look at our intents, or look up fire intents. Okay, is there a fire close by? Let me just open a little notepad here to save these. And where is the smoke coming from? Okay. Now let's go back to distribution. Ah, didn't save it. Look up nearest fire. Nearest contained wildfire. open fire test. Where's the smoke coming from? And is there a fire close by? Now you need to find an icon. So you got to make sure you find one that's royalty free. So let's say royalty free fire icon. And pretty much just take any one you want. But you're going to have to drag, and it's a specific resolution here. So 108 by 108 PNG, and then a 512. So to do this, you're going to need an image editor. So I'm just using paint.net. And let me crop to this selection. And let's see, 108 by 108. Or actually, let's do the bigger one first, 512. So let's do a resize to 512. It's a little bit wider this way, so we'll do 512. And actually, we'll just leave it like that. And now we will adjust the canvas size, 512, and start from the middle. So it'll make it a square. So let's save this, and we'll save it in our pictures as Fire 512. Okay, now we need to go from 512 to 108. So let's resize this to 108 and save this as Fire 108. You can use any image editor. I like paint.net. It's free, works well. Now let's upload those. So they were in my pictures. So what was this first one? This was the 108 one. And then this second one is the 512. Okay. Next, which category? So let's probably put it under, I think there's a weather or news. Yeah, weather. Let's put it under weather. Okay, keywords. How about fire, wildfire, maybe fires there. How about smoke? Okay, now you need to create a privacy policy. So let me show you how to do that. Okay, so let's open a new tab. Let's search for Google Sites. Let's log into there. You should have a Google account. Let's create a blank new site. And we'll say fire test privacy policy. And probably here, call it the same thing, fire test privacy policy. Give it a site. Okay, it's already got that. We don't care about a logo. Okay, so now we want to add some text. So add a text box. So there's some generic privacy policies that you can look up. So basically what you collect, why we collect it, and what do we do with it. All right, this is the main thing. What do we collect? So we do not intend to collect any personal information, with the exception of location data provided by your device. Let's make these sections bold. Why? The location information is used only to look up which fire is closest to your location, which we then report out to you. And what do we do with it? We do not share this data with anyone. We also do not store this data. This is the only part where it might be tricky. So remember our debug log outputs? If you logged the zip codes, then you wouldn't be able to write this here. You might want to change, we log zip code data just to check for errors. The easiest thing is just don't store it and make sure you don't have anything logging the zip code data. Okay, at this point, we're done with this. We can publish it. And you have your URL right here. So let's publish it. And I think we can just, let's test it out. Let's go straight there. There we go. So now we've got a privacy policy. Yay. Save and continue. Okay, next step. Does this skill allow users to make purchases? No. Does this skill collect users' personal information? This would be name, email. Nope, we don't do that. Does this skill target people under 13? Nope. Does this skill contain advertising? Nope. Yeah, we don't have any kind of export compliance. It's not something restricted by the government. So testing instructions, because Amazon's going to test this for you. Run ask your device to open fire test. Save and continue. Okay, who should have access to the skill? Anybody? This is if you want to give certain people access to test it before Amazon does. Where do we want this skill available? We want it only in the US because that's the only place where we're getting the fire data for. So let's scroll down here. And United States. Okay, I think save and continue. Now it's going to run through some automated error checking. Okay, it found 0 results. Next would be the submission. You would certify and publish, and that is pretty much it. From here, you just click submit for review. It'll go to Amazon. They'll run through some tests and send you an email back with any issues they found. You can reply back to that email to engage in a conversation. Usually they'll also provide links to specific Amazon documentation explaining what you did and how they want you to do that part of it. But that's pretty much it. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or comments. Good luck. I hope you have fun and build something cool.